Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Welcome to WildChild Records. I'm your host, Jay Stoyan. Before we get started, I want to thank Long McQuaid, valuable sponsor, good friends of the show, wonderful people, great service and product. Make sure you check them out. Again, Long McQuaid, big thank you. Very excited. On the show today, we have a composer, a director, a fabulous musician. We have Eric Paetkau coming on the show today, so stay tuned and we'll be right back with Eric. Welcome back to the show. You're watching WildChild Records. We're down here, Toronto, Artscape, Witchwood Barns. Come on down, check us out. We're all about showcasing emerging mainstream and independent musicians. So Eric, thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks a lot for having me, Jay.
I saw you brought your guitar.
I did.
Yeah, so later in the show, Eric's going to treat us with a couple songs. This guy, I tell you, what a resume. So 30 years or 30 plus years in the music industry. We were talking off camera, and Eric is one of the few musicians I know who can actually make a living in Canada.
It's true.
It's very tough being an artist in Canada to make a full-time living.
It can be. Yeah, it really can.
So why don't we take it all the way back, and then we'll jet through your career. So tell us your passion, your inspiration. Where did you get this at a young age?
You know, I've always had it. I've always loved music. When I was a kid, I played a lot of instruments. I played in orchestras and bands. I sang a lot in choirs. So that was just, it was kind of our family. We did a lot of musical stuff.
Any church-related choirs?
Yes, yes, very much.
Everybody does that, right?
It's true.
Growing up, right? The church,
exactly,
right?
Yeah. And that was a big part of my upbringing, there's the choir and the singing. So I just kind of went with that, and then during high school, and then after that, I went to university for music.
So in high school, what was your choice of instrument? What did you play?
I was a violinist.
Even in high school?
Yeah, from when I was 6 years old. All through university, I was a violinist and pianist.
You don't get very many violinists.
No, you don't.
That's great.
Yeah. So I was very driven in the classical world. So that was my.
So what age? Like 10, 11, or?
6. I started 5 or 6. I started.
So what violinist did you look up to? Who was your guy or girl?
Well, I knew all of the major ones when I was young. Like
really?
all the famous Itzhak Perlman and all these famous violinists. And
now there is a couple of violinists that play in rock bands. Like I think Jethro Tull had one.
Yeah, quite a few. I actually know the violinist for that plays regularly with Blue Rodeo.
Blue Rodeo.
Yeah. Lindsay, forget her last name. Anyway, lovely violinist, a wonderful person.
I love that when you add a unique instrument to a band, or like later on we're going to talk about the symphony. So you went to the violin, so that was all the way through high school?
All the way through high school, and then into university. I did a music degree, undergrad in violin, and then I switched to a bigger instrument, a bigger violin called a viola. So it's a bit lower in tone, but bigger. And then I started my professional career as a violist, so playing in orchestras.
So let me ask you, because I play a little guitar, and I know it's all a lot to do with like numbers and memory and repetition. So playing the violin and going to university, because that's kind of like a little bit highbrow when it comes to the music world.
Right,
Is it
right.
not?
It is,
right?
it is, yeah. It's very specialized. It's very, to be able to play at a high level in the classical music realm, you have to be very, very detailed and structured, and you have to be consistent all the time to get those, to achieve a lot in that. So it's a big commitment.
So take us through, so you finished university, so how old were you, like 24, 25, 26?
Yeah, well, I mean,
23,
I kind of went through different things. So I did an undergrad, but then I switched to viola, so I did a couple of years there. Then I moved to Europe, well, to the States first, did a master's there, then I went to Europe, did some more graduate work, and then I got a job in a German orchestra.
Why is it that a lot of Canadian music, or maybe musicians around the world, they go to the U.S. to study further, like Berkeley, or like you were saying, New England? Is that just because their schools are that much more advanced than ours? Or?
No, you know, it's funny. It's because I'm a big advocate of Canadian schools, and they're incredible teachers here, wonderful schools. We have them across the country. In the States, there's very specialized schools, like conservatories like Juilliard, New England Conservatory, and a bunch of others, Curtis in Philadelphia. And those are very specialized. The Royal Conservatory here in Canada, and U of T and UBC, so McGill, they're the same. And I just wanted a different experience. I just wanted to go to the States, try out that, and then go to Europe and try out that. So I think one can stay in Canada and have a wonderful, an incredible education.
So Canada, US, then Europe, and then you're ready to sort of work, if you want to call it that? Or?
Yeah. Then I got a job in a German orchestra in Nuremberg, in the Nuremberg Symphony, and played there for a while. And
take us through a little bit of the dynamics playing in an orchestra.
Yeah.
Like, is there, because how many people? Like, there's 40 people or whatever.
There's about 100. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. I'm way up 100.
Yeah. No. But that's about 100 people. It's a community. It's a kind of a family.
Do you guys fight for the spotlight? Like, you know what I mean?
Well, you know, it takes a lot to get a job because there's auditions.
Okay.
And, you know, like 200 or 300 people can show up for that one position.
Wow.
And they all have to be at this high level. And so after you get that, then you start to settle into this community because they're all new.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have been there for years and years. So you settle into your section. There's a viola section and then string section and then the whole orchestra. You make friends with everyone. You start hanging out a lot. And it becomes this big community. But like you say, you do fight, not fight, but like, you know, just like any family, especially with 100 people, there are people that you really like. There's people that you don't really like, and it's all a combination.
And like, I'm learning for the first time. So is the pay good? Like,
it can be very, very good,
be very
depending on the orchestras. There's so many orchestras around the world, and so many professional orchestras. But some of the top orchestras in the world, the U.S. orchestras get paid the most. Okay. You know, but you can get paid extremely well. And others, and a lot of professional musicians and orchestras make a very good living.
So remind me in orchestras if there's singers or not. Is there singers or no?
Not
just music.
Just instrumentalists.
Just
instrumental.
Okay.
Yeah, players. Yeah.
So take us through the routine. Like, do you guys go to practice every day? Like, what do you do?
It's based on, you usually have concerts on the weekend, right? So let's say a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or a matinee on Sunday +2 on, or whatever it is, the schedule.
Yeah.
And then you rehearse that repertoire during the week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you rehearse, and then the shows are on the weekend or during the week, at the end of the week.
This is great. I'm learning all this stuff. So when you're on stage, which section gets the biggest cheer? The horn section?
Well, the horn section, because they're loud,
Yeah.
and they are literally shiny, and a lot of the big orchestral repertoire has like trumpet solos and horn solos and stuff. So that's big. But the oboe, they always have solos, so they get a big.
What's an oboe?
Oboe is a wind instrument with a reed, double reed.
Like a clarinet?
It looks like a clarinet, but clarinets are sit behind over there. The flutes and oboes, bassoons and clarinets, or clarinets and bassoons here. And so the woodwinds are there, but the brass in the back get a lot, and the trombones, and the tubas, and the horns. And then the strings, the first violin get all the melodies.
Now, the clarinets get a bad rap, and I'll tell you why. Because I remember grade 7 coming in, and I was late to class, and what did I have? The clarinet.
Right.
Like the horn or the drum or something, but no, here's the clarinet. And then the wreath or whatever.
Reed, yeah.
Oh, reed. Oh my God! Like I think I had to get one every class because I would just break it.
Right.
You know.
Well, and that's just it. The bands, like, because we all grew up in. Well, a lot of us grew up. Maybe some schools don't have bands anymore, but But yeah, you kind of the clarinets get a bad rap,
Bad rap,
because
eh?
everyone's trying to learn, right?
Yeah.
And we're all squawking away in whatever instrument we have, and there's so many clarinets, so many flutes, and a few of these other instruments.
Is there guitars too, or not really?
Not really. There's
right?
guitar soloists.
Guitar
there's some
soloists.
classical guitar soloists. Yeah.
And then let's move on to, and then we're going to take a quick break.
Sure.
Let's move on to the conductor. So
Yeah.
tell us about, because you were also a conductor.
Yeah,
right?
for
So
many,
you
many
went
years.
From
a player to conductor.
Tell us about that transition.
Yeah, that's a bit of a hard
You
transition.
get a lot of cut eyes? I bet.
Yes, you do,
Yeah.
because you're on this side of the orchestra, and you always complain about the conductor all the
Yeah.
time. Like anything, you always complain about the boss, right?
Yeah.
And so, you're sitting there, this is the conductor. And so I decided at some point to be that person on the other side. It takes a lot of work in transition and doing all that, but then you're in charge of these 100 people, and not in charge, you work together.
You're the boss.
But you
Yeah.
have to make those decisions, you have to do all that stuff. So it's a very different role.
So that, like, before you do your show or whatever, matinee,
yeah.
that must be a lot of work for the conductor.
It
because
is.
How long is a show?
So a
Roughly?
show is about 2 hours.
2 hours.
Yeah.
So the conductor has to be on top for 2 hours.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Really?
Yeah,
Go
yeah.
like this, and then-
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
Bugs Bunny, right?
Yeah.
Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
This is great. We're here with Eric Paetkau. I'm sorry I pronounced
No,
it.
that's perfect.
Good. Paetkau, there you go. Tell us all about his career as a musician, as a composer. When we come back, he has a really passion for television and helping community and kids. So we're going to come back. We're going to talk to you about his experience with his TV show and getting the kids playing instruments, which should be a lot of fun, I imagine, right?
Yeah.
So stay tuned. You're watching WildChild Records. We'll be right back.
Are you currently on the Ontario Disability Support Program? If you're interested in social media marketing, TV production, podcasting, and or getting off assistance, contact Jay Stoyan at 647-339-6847 or jay@thedisabilitychannel.ca. The Disability Channel, showcasing abilities.
Welcome back to WildChild Records. I'm Jay Stoyan. On his show today, we have musician Eric Paetkau. He's telling us all about his wonderful 30-plus career. So now we're going to, before we move into his current passion, which is supporting the community through television show and youth and kids and music, tell us a few places that you've played with the orchestra, Eric.
Sure. Well, I've toured a lot of the world, but a highlight, of course, is Carnegie Hall. I've played there a few times and really enjoyed it.
A few times.
Yeah, I've
Wow.
done, I think, 3 times. I've performed at Carnegie Hall.
So tell us that experience and tell us a little about the history, because I'm sure a lot of people, they heard of it, but they don't really know
Right.
what it's all about.
Well, New York City, it's right south of Central Park there, and it's a great hall that was, I think, built in the late 1800s. And it's just kind of the, all the jokes, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice.
There you go,
All
yeah.
that, like, it's one of the state's
Landmarks,
main halls, and it's a beautiful hall. It has a velvety sound. But a lot of the European halls are wonderful, but also small towns. I love touring where you get to, you play New York and LA and all these big cities, or Amsterdam or Paris, wherever it is, but I love the small little cities as well.
Has
It's really fun.
any, opera or symphony superstars that the regular Joe would go, hey, I know, has any of those surprised you on stage or played with you guys?
Yeah, I played with most of them, and most of them are wonderful people. Yo-Yo Ma is so nice.
Yeah?
You've probably heard of Yo-Yo Ma.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
Jealous.
Tell us a few other popular names.
Do you know Simon Rattle? He's a huge.
I know Simon Cowell.
Okay, Simon Cowell. Simon Rattle is wonderful. There's let's see.
Single or the
Yeah,
other guy? The other guy?
Pavarotti, before my time a bit.
Remember Seinfeld, the other guy?
Yeah, that's right.
The other guy.
Carreras, that's right, Jose Carreras. But yeah, there's so many of these superstars that are just lovely people. You
That's
just hang out
great.
with them and they're great. Yeah.
So what I want to do is I want to transition into what you're doing currently.
Sure.
And that is working with kids. So tell us about your kids show, about your
Right.
day-to-day operation and all that.
Well, it's that just came out of love of working. It's not even working with kids; it's just having fun with kids.
Yeah.
That's basically it. And those pesky kids, they learn. Man, they learn. And I try to keep education out of it, but of course, everything you do
Yeah.
is always teaching and stuff. So it's a lot of fun. I just love their interaction. So I do a weekly online TV show.
Nice.
It's live every week at 11 a.m.
And
Eastern time.
Where can people find it?
Online, peekowpublishing.com.
Spell that over.
So it's P like P-E-E,
Yeah.
P and then cow, C-O-W, publishing.com.
Good. Okay.
And it's a publishing company I started because I do books and other stuff as well.
And what's the focus of the show?
This is just mainly songs, getting everyone to sing, to dance, just goof off, just be silly. I have my pseudonym is Mr. Snotsense. It's not sense.
Yeah.
And so I am Mr. Snotsense, and we just have a great time. It's just a lot of fun.
Well, that's great because you have so much experience, right? And
Right.
schooling and education
Yes.
and performing. So you can walk the walk.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you do that online?
I do it online every week. In summer now, we're taking a break, but ramping things up. But even now, so every week, even though it's not live, I send out a video every Saturday at 11 a.m. It's a full show. I have interviews with like a plant. I have interviews with like all this stuff. It's just very silly, nonsensical, and a lot of fun. And the kids love it and just giggle.
I'm wondering now that we're past the COVID.
Yeah.
Would you ever think about in-person shows?
I think so, yeah. I've got my studio here, and I'm going to open that up. When I get it all set up, I'm going to open it up to live. And I do a lot of live shows as well.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. Across the country, I do a lot of kids shows, but also singer-songwriter stuff as well.
And how long is the show per week? Like a half hour?
It's half an hour.
Half-hour show.
Yeah. The kids' attention is like this.
Yeah, that's true.
I wanted to make it longer, but then I was like, ooh, no, we're starting to lose them. So,
Age group?
Anywhere from 2 to 8.
2 to 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a couple of 10-year-olds that they love it too, but it's usually a little bit younger. Yeah.
And if people wanted to find out more, they just go on your website?
Website,
They can register or whatever.
Yeah, and I'm also on all the social media, Mr. Snotsense.
Okay.
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
And I wanted to ask you a couple more questions, and then we're going to wrap the show. So tell us a little about the 27 Juno nominated situation.
Yeah.
What is that now?
So I have a chamber orchestra here in Toronto that I started years ago. Group of 27, it's called. It's a play on Group of 7, the Canadian artists. And it's mostly my friends from the Toronto Symphony and elsewhere. And it's kind of a super group. I wanted a super chamber orchestra that did projects like recordings and different special projects. And so, yeah, 2 of our recordings a few years ago got nominated for Junos.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's been a lot of fun.
2 more questions. One is, who is somebody you look up to in the music industry? Who's inspired you?
Well, outside of the classical...
Yeah, it doesn't have to be classical.
Just
in general.
I mean, I love people who've just kind of made it their own and done stuff in their own way. Of course, I love all the folk musicians like James Taylor, Neil Young. I'm a big folk person.
Okay.
And Joni Mitchell, and that's great. That Buffy.
Yeah.
3 of the 4 I've mentioned are Canadian. Wonderful.
Yeah, that's great. I like that.
Love that. I love all that folk music, but I also love contemporary artists that just kind of do their own thing. And I love that online nowadays you can get your music out there. You can do a whole bunch of different things and self-promote, and I really love that.
And say of my community, like a person, because I let you know, like a person with a disability, like besides fighting the disability, they're fighting the stigma.
Yeah.
They're fighting, society.
Yes.
So what kind of advice would you give, off the top of your head, I'm putting you on a spot,
Right.
a disabled person wanted to sort of call you up, get involved, like their parents wanted to call you, what would you recommend?
I would recommend, with my show and what I do, it's for everyone.
There you go.
And because I infuse everything with joy.
Yeah.
That's all, it's fun and joy. And like I said, the kids learn because of it, but that's not the main thing. And so it doesn't matter if there's a disability or not, or whatever it is, if there's some sort of sense of joy that they get out of that, that's what I'm for.
And the reason I say that is because like when you're disabled, obviously that really, curtails your activity, physical activity or whatever, but you can still play music.
That's exactly it.
You can sing, hopefully you can hold a guitar or some type of instrument or write.
Or even move or do any, you can feel it in some way.
You can be sick online.
You can be sick online.
And still do it.
And that's what I love about music, is that it doesn't matter if it's some crazy kid dancing up and down or someone who's, I play a lot of senior homes.
Yeah.
If they're incapacitated, you can tell from their eyes sometimes, or just minuscule movement that you're getting to.
That's great.
That somehow, and that affects me in a big way.
Yeah,
like that brings me so much joy. And I know it's a cliche, but yes, I get so much more out of it than the kids do and the seniors do.
Well, that's great, Eric. Again, on his show today, we had Eric Paetkau. He tells us all about his wonderful music career. Again, Eric, if people want to find out more information, where could they go?
Yeah, Paetkaupublishing.com or Mr. Snotsense. and Mr. Snot Sense on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
Okay, what we're going to come back, and Eric's going to play a couple songs, and then he's going to take us out. So stay tuned. You're watching WildChild Records. We'll be right back with Eric playing a couple songs. Welcome back to WildChild Records. Well, it's been a very enjoyable show today. On the show today, we had still have musician, Eric Paetkau. Eric is going to take us out now with an original from his kids' show, correct?
Yeah.
And also a little bit of a cover. So let's put our hands together for Eric. Eric, thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much. Here's Jake, Fred, and Herb. They're friends. There is a dog, his name is Jake, and he lives just down the street. He lives next door to Fred the cat, and that is where they meet. Talk of tales of Herb the hog, who doesn't seem to clean his toes or nails or his undershirt, and he splatters while he's peeing. Well, Jake the dog and Fred the cat could really not care less before the fact that Herb the hog farts while playing them chess. Whoa! Bam, bam. Here we go. There is a dog, his name is Jake, and he lives just down the street. Now lives next door to Fred the cat, and that is where they meet. Talk of tales of Herb the hog, who doesn't seem to clean his toes or nails or his undershirt, and he splatters while he's peeing. Well, Jake the dog and Fred the cat could really not care less before the fact that Herb the hog farts while playing them chess. Before the fact that Herb the hog farts while playing them chess. There we go.
Hey, well, I bet you the kids just love that. That's very high energy.
That's a lot of fun.
That's great.
And now a little calmer one, Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Beautiful.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue. Skies are that come dreams really do come true. Sometimes I forget the lyrics.
Hey,
There we go.